Hey there, PNW fans. Thanks for joining us here at the PNW headquarters for another one of our reviews. And today we're here to bring you another review of a dab pen. And we've reviewed a couple of them. You've seen the Tommy Chong edition of the Cloud Platinum. We've done the Cloud Classic Mini. And a few others. If you go and check out our vaporizer area, you'll see everyone that we've reviewed. Today I'm bringing you one that bills itself as a bit of a more higher quality dab pen than the rest. This is the Dabsolute, and right away you see that they put a bit more into their packaging than some of the rest of them do. I mean, shit, we've seen some come in that are just literally in a plastic, thin, clear container with almost no protection at all. And so it's always nice to see ones that spend some money in their packaging. They're very proud of the fact that they're American made. It's all over the place. And their branding's very strong. Dabsolute all over the box. Hashtag Dabsolutely, so they're really strong on social media, and they spend a lot of time and effort to make sure that you're aware of them. Top slides off, and what you get, this is their complete kit, and you can get just the pen, which is this unit here. Or you can get this, which comes with the battery, and I'll talk about the differences here in a moment. So let's talk about the Dabsolute Pen. This is their cartridge. Now this is the airflow unit, coil, and then you see it's got a big ass bottom. I'll hold that right there. So that won't really fit on too much, but it does come with an adapter. This thing is designed to fit on any 510 or 710 thread, so that's really nice there. When you get this kit, or when you get the full unit, this is a full-sized battery. Let's see, it's Smart Mod battery, variable wattage, 5 watts to 36 watts, built-in 2600 mAh battery. Does have an LED screen, which I'll show you in a second. So this is, honestly, after testing, this is kind of a really basic version of just about any vape mod that you can get out there. We've reviewed the Cloud Nova, and this is actually really reminiscent of the Nova. So if you're used to any of those mods, you'll understand what I mean about this battery. Continuing, you open this up and you see that everything's packaged really well in this like styrofoam backing plate. Everything's kept really tight, so nothing gets damaged in packaging. Inside here is a power cord, which I actually don't have in here right now because we've actually tested this one really extensively. This is an adapter. It screws into the bottom here. And now that fits into an Ego battery if you wanted to. And then also inside here is a lanyard that fits right there. And then, so there's all of that. So let's talk about this. Honestly, I don't really care too much about the packaging. This was a good pen, but not for what they wanted in the price of it, and I'll get to that towards the end of the review. Before we talk about the battery, let's talk about their cartridge. And when I got this, I thought it was really unique. Every single battery, or not battery, but vape unit that I've seen, every single one that's not an actual mod, but every one that's for wax and oils and concentrates, the airflow is at the bottom underneath the coil. Not usually a big deal. You have to kind of pull hard through it and get a big draw to really feel anything, and it can get clogged if you overfill your pens. But really not that big of a deal. However, what intrigued us about the Dabsolute is that if you looked, all of those holes, that's the air, this is where the airflow is, and that's above the coil. Here, I'll start to unscrew that so you can see. This is the coil, which is a flat bottom skillet coil, and then this here is where all of the airflow goes. So you can never get it clogged. It says you can't spill it, you can't clog it, there's no way that you can interfere with the airflow. And in all of our testing, nothing that I did ever interfered with the airflow. So that claim was completely true. Let's undo this. And I apologize, it's really dirty right now. I haven't cleaned it since the last time. But that's the flat bottom skillet coil, and it's completely and totally flat. There's no cone effect to it. You put your dabs right on top of the coil, make sure that it's kind of flattened against the coil a little bit, and then call it good. This screws onto this, obviously, and then what's kind of neat about the battery unit is that they provide you with an adapter here. Flip it, and battery will screw into there. Or not battery, again, I keep doing that tonight, vape pen. Or flip it back around. And it's big enough that the coil now screws on. Yep, cool. So that's the full unit there when it's completely put together. Wider base, sits in the center, looks a little odd, but it is a little discreet because there's no windows here, and the size of this makes it look like a mod for vaping rather than dabbing, so it's kind of discreet. It's pretty heavy. This thing is heavy duty. It's almost like a club. It's the heaviest vape pen I've had that wasn't for vaporizing dry herb. This thing is burly. LED screen there. Click it 5 times to turn it on and off. When you turn it on, it says Dabsolute. When you turn it off, it says goodbye. Kind of cute. What we found is that this thing will work for multiple pens. It's not just for this cartridge. Not only do they provide you with the cartridge or the adapter in the box to turn the cartridge into an Ego or a 510 adapter, this actually unscrews from the base there, flips over, goes back in, screws back down, and now you can click in almost anything that you want to in here. I didn't test that because I didn't want to burn out the mod before I did the review, but I'll test that before I actually do the written part of the review for this, so you can read the review below and see if this will do anything other than the Dabsolute pen. So, talking about the battery here, while I get this loaded and pull some stuff out of my Banga box here. A couple of interesting things when you're dabbing on this. The airflow was fantastic. Having the air coils above all of that was the best thing about this unit. The coil itself, not very efficient. It leaves things puddled in the bottom. There's no ceramic for it to, one of the qualities of ceramic is that while it's warm, the dabs will just roll back and forth over there until it all vaporizes off and you can reclaim it, where this is just an aluminum coil with a flat bottom that nothing really happens with it. Once everything falls beneath the coil, it leaves some stuff behind. While it's not horrible, it is a little wasteful. The battery has its own flaws as well. It can do several temperatures. It can run anywhere from 5 to 36 watts. The directions say when you're dabbing not to go or it says to run between 12 and 17 and not to go any higher than 17 watts because then you lose your terpenes. And I completely agree and actually think 17 was a bit too high. I played with every range and I figured about 15 to 16 was about my perfect. My problem with the battery. Click it off at 16, turn it back on, and maybe it's at 30. Or while you're in the middle of dabbing at 16, all of a sudden it drops to 12 in the middle of your dab while the battery's on. I don't know if that's just a flaw to mine specifically, or if that was if it's a flaw with the battery itself, but something to be aware of. That gets a few negative points on this review because of that. Now, you just saw me kind of use my finger, wet it a little bit, and tapped it down to push down in there. And the reason for that is that there's really no efficient way to get your dabs on the coil. Because of the flat bottom skillet and the way the coil sits flat rather than coiled around either quartz or titanium, you can't really put your dabs directly on your coil. You have to kind of scrape on the side and then use a damp, wet finger to kind of push it down, or it doesn't vape efficiently. I've had several times where I've held this down and held it down and held it down and held it down and held it down, and nothing's coming out, no smoke's curling out from anywhere. Suck on it, you get no smoke, but you unscrew it and there is a whole chunk of wax stuck up here on that lip that's right there. So again, there's some great things about this pen, and then there's some big flaws about the pen. So as you see, I am on 16. That's where I'm going to dab on today. And now some pens you prime, where you hold it down after you've loaded it with some wax, and for about half a second you let it off, and then you start dabbing. This one you don't, because the instant you prime, everything falls underneath that flat skillet, and then you don't hit efficiently. So you load it, hold it down, you hit it. Now a couple of things when you're hitting this: don't just hold it and reef on it. While that works for some pens, this one here, the best way to do it is to hold it down for a couple of seconds, let off, hold it down for a couple of seconds and let off. And that the whole time you're sucking, because it's generating airflow, and heating and cooling allows your wax to kind of heat and then puddle and heat and then puddle. So be aware of that when you're hitting this. It's a fantastic dab, and the flavor profile is on point. As long as you keep it, like I said, my favorite with 16, keep it between 12 and 17 like the directions say, and you won't have an issue when it comes to flavor profile. And you'll be amazed at the difference in the airflow between this and a standard pen. Now, I wanted you to show you that I loaded about a 0.1 on there. It wasn't a lot, but in other pens I've seen that literally be 2, maybe 3 dabs. This thing, call it efficient, call it wasteful. I prefer to think of it as wasteful because there's really no way to reclaim what's happening in the corners here without damaging your coil. But that's all gone. One hit. It vaped it all out. I could have made that stretch in my frugal nature with some other pens that we've had, and well, that's not necessarily a negative. Some people like to vaporize everything that they've loaded instantaneously, and if that's for you, then this might be for you with this style of skillet. It wasn't for me, and so, but that's subjective, so I won't actually rate them on that part of it. I just wanted to point out the fact that this it blasts everything that you load. So that's the Dabsolute pen. You got your battery, cartridge, great airflow, great quality, great durability. Unfortunately, when it comes to actually dabbing, it wasn't one of our favorites. We've seen a few other ones that work so much better than this one that even with its great airflow, unfortunately, it's gonna just miss the mark and not quite get the PNW Badge of Approval. Don't forget, scroll down, read the review below, because we do detail everything out that we tried and we tested and that we liked and didn't like and why we rated it the way that we do. Also, don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got some big things coming in 2016, and you want to make sure that you're one of the first followers, because we got some giveaways coming that you'll only be able to do through YouTube. And the smaller, or if you're not in it right now when it's small, then who knows on what your chances will be later on in the year. Thanks for joining us here. We have fun doing the reviews, and we'll catch you next time.